Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gadget Show. My name is Usman and we are here bringing you the latest in technology. We have two fantastic brand new products in the studio with us today, and going through the pros and cons of these products is our resident gadget expert, Mr. Raman. How are you today?
I'm good, can't complain. The weather is good. I'm down with cold, but apart from that, fantastic.
Yeah, the past 2 days where I've been working has been so hot. I think we need to do a special on some sort of air conditioning gadgets. I need one. I need some sort of clothing or a jacket, air conditioning jacket, because it has been very, very warm where I've been.
Well, it's a good suggestion, and I think we should look at some USB devices, the handheld fans, USBs, small refs that you can place on your table.
I think I'm going to need something like that, and I'm
those,
sure some other people will. So that might be something, if we continue to have this, in England, it's probably going to last about 3 or 4 days anyway. So if it does continue to last for any sort of period of time, and we feel as though we need to bring you these sort of products, we will. But in the meantime, as we always do in the show, we start off with what's been doing the rounds of the news.
Right. A couple of items and a couple of things that we picked up. Before we start, just want to make this quite clear, and obviously for the benefit of our audiences, that, we speak, between the two of us, we speak, I think, 4 languages at least, right? So English, Hindi, French, a little bit of French, Urdu and Punjabi, rather 5 languages, So you could obviously call in, tune in, speak to us, in any of the languages that you're comfortable, Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, English, and a bit of French. We'll obviously be, looking forward, and we'll love to do that. Right, getting on with the news. First bit of big news. Everybody's aware of Facebook IPO, $104 billion IPO, and look at how the markets treated them. So one after the other, the share price is not holding up. It listed at $38 to a share, and it's already gone down yesterday when I checked to about $34 a share. So it's already seen an 11% drop. A company which is floated for $100+ billion has an annual revenue projection of just in excess of $1.4 billion. So they've got a large, a lot of distance to cover in terms of when you're looking at such a big flotation, 900 million users. How do they monetize that? So that's the big question up. But obviously, a lot of banks, a lot of institutional investors, and for all the wrong reasons and good reasons, they are making the news that obviously certain forecasts were not shared with investors, but only with institutional investors, and because of which they will have to go and fight it out in the courts. So that's the first bit of big news. Sticking to the US, President Obama is making waves again, and what he's he's basically suggesting, if I read that, he's telling his government to embrace mobile apps within a year, which is a kind of a first from a US president saying that let's keep up with technology. And it's an interesting bit of thing wherein he wants the rest of the government. He's already mobile. When he took a charge, he refused to part with his BlackBerry. And he said, whatever reasons, I refuse to part with it. But in order to increase the awareness and obviously connectivity between, I would say, voters and the politicians, what he's saying is, in general, my government needs to embrace technology and look at mobile apps. Obviously, I think this is something which we'll get to see more and more, because as mobile becomes a part of our lives, we will definitely see a lot of our older generation, my parents, who couldn't use an iPhone maybe 3-4 years back, today are able to use the phone. So, these are things, I would say these are the scheme of things to come in the coming years, wherein you'll see governments going e-government, budget cuts, things like that, and that is going to be the flavor of the month, or flavor of the year, or the flavor of the government. Two other bit of big news, which I would like to share, is one which has caught my eye is Hewlett-Packard. We've always grown up with some of their products. Printing, for example, everybody knows HP, and the company is undergoing a massive restructuring. They're looking at cutting about 27,000 jobs. As a company, they employ about 350,000 employees across the globe. 20,000 of them are in the UK, and I'm a bit surprised. I'm curious to find out how much does UK and Ireland as a market, contribute towards HP's revenue when you have 20,000 employees. So this restructuring is looking at bringing down costs. and bringing down overall. I would say they're looking at profitability. So obviously this will bring down net expenditure by about $2.5 billion, which is what their projection is by the end of 2014. Sticking with PC companies, another PC company which obviously is making news this week is Dell. They've seen a drop in sales. They've seen huge drop in profits, 13% drop in profits. And what they are looking at now is riding the Windows 8 way wherein you'll have the entire product being restructured. The product life cycles would see a refresh, and a lot of companies will bring out new PCs. So they are pegging their hopes, big time hopes, on, I would say, tablet or touchscreen PCs. And Michael Dell, which basically gave an interview, has kind of said that, okay, this is our next big opportunity to cover the market, get some market share, increase the revenues, and obviously the forecast for the year remains grim. They've been struggling. They've been struggling in terms of the uptake of their tablet PCs. They've been slow to react to Apple, and obviously because of that, they are at least a generation behind in terms of product life cycle. So they've got a lot of catching up to do, and that obviously goes to show in terms of the revenues that they are not able to capture on that side. And one last bit of big news, which obviously is good news for school children in Britain, in England and Wales at least, is because Google has decided to invest in Pi. Now, we covered this, I think, in some of the previous episodes, wherein Raspberry Pi, it's a British company, UK, entrepreneurial company, charity essentially. As a company, was registered as a charity. They have created the world's cheapest, PC with a graphical user interface, and all it is a small chip, small motherboard with interfaces for keyboard, mouse, and things like that, and it's based on Linux operating system. So Google has decided to invest, and obviously it will make those units available. The whole idea of that company's project, the charity project which started off, or now a commercial project, is that they want to promote innovation. More entrepreneurs, more people taking up computing, more kids growing up with computers and becoming more techies. So that project, Google's going to invest and obviously make some of those units available in schools, in British schools. One bit of interesting news which I would like to wrap up with, and I think we have a chart that we will show you on screen, is the shaping up of apps. We can't get away from this now. Facebook is looking at apps. They are looking at their own store, because they're looking at monetizing, making money out of the 900 million users that they have. And when you look at Android and when you look at the iOS, Android clearly rules the roost in terms of 59% market share in terms of applications. And if I just show you a graph that we bring onto the screen, एक chart है जो हम screen पे दिखाएंगे, which shows you the shares between various operating systems. So if you look at Google Android, that currently is clearly at about 59%. Very close up next is 23%, which is the iOS. And then after that you have Symbian, which at one point in time dominated mobile phone in terms of operating system, and it had market share in excess of 60% before Nokia bought it, spinned it off as a Symbian Foundation, and then after that you see BlackBerry and Windows Phone. So Windows Phone, BlackBerry have got a lot of ground to cover, and I think the clear thing which people are now getting used to is when you buy a phone, what store does it have? The Google Android market or the iOS, and we've got so used to playing with apps and widgets on the phone, is that is where the next set of revenue monetization is going to come for a lot of companies. So interestingly, Apple's gaining quite heavily. They were in single digits a couple of 12 to 18 months back. Today they are at 23%. When you just look at the US market alone, they are the highest in terms of smartphone sales as well as the app market share. But when you look at globally, it's Android.
So even though we're bombarded with obviously Apple's marketing campaigns every single day, surprisingly for some people who are obviously not in the know, it'll be surprising for them to know it's actually Android which kind of rules the roost in quite a big way.
Yes.
Almost 60%. So obviously that's quite in a big way. So obviously their marketing is not as in your face. It probably doesn't need to be, because obviously you've got 60% share. You don't really need to improve on that.
I think one of the key things going forward is, which which is expected. Again, this is rumor mill, and this is my personal opinion, is that with the acquisition of Motorola, which has now got a clearance from FEC in US, China, and everywhere, you will get to see Google getting into the handset market. That is a $12 billion acquisition that they've made, and obviously I'm pretty sure that they have some plans behind it to launch their own handset. Until now, the Android operating system has been open. It's been endorsed, and obviously it is, the development of it is done by Google, but when you look at implementation, deployment, it is done by a lot of handset manufacturers, tablet manufacturers, and you get to see lighter versions of that being tested on touchscreen PCs. So when you look at that, as long as this particular operating system remains open, and it's not controlled by Google, or it's not used as a vehicle to make money through advertising and other avenues, I think a lot of manufacturers will stick to it. But at some point in time, if they decide to monetize it, launch their own handset, which they've currently only done with HTC and Samsung, I think there will be a little bit of a shake-up which will happen in the market. So it is expected, and my reading, my personal opinion is that at some point in time in the future that will happen. So they will start charging royalty for this, $10 or so, or I don't know, whatever figure they put onto it. If 6 out of 10 phones ship with that software, there's a lot of money to be made. A lot of money to be made through Google.
I'm pretty sure that obviously you know what you're talking about, and I can pretty much presume that they will probably go down that road.
I think so, yes.
To cash in a very, very big way. But hopefully that it also pushed them to make better handsets, Google brand handsets. So look forward to that, especially with have you seen the new thing on Google? If you go on the Google homepage, it's got a brand new sort of interface where as you're typing along, you'll get sort of Wikipedia related to what you're writing. So if you've not been on Google for a while, it's something you want to check out. Obviously, it's the new smarter Google. So whatever you're looking for, it will start pulling up. Normally, you would get your search results, but this time on the side, you'll see a new tab which appears, which gives you like translations of words and Wikipedia background on there. So it's something to look out for. Obviously, Google, they've got so many things. They've got navigation, they've got maps, they've got things like that. So the potential's there to create something, which could compete with, surpass maybe Apple.
I totally agree. And if you see the likes of Facebook, we've seen a dot-com bubble in 2001. And then you again see one of the interesting stories that got, while I was reading was the next 1,000 millionaires, which Google's creating. The Facebook is creating, the IPO of Facebook is creating, is Google's come a long way, So within 8 years, we've seen a company which is go from, a personal network, which was within a college, to the world's best social networking service. And if Google does not innovate in the next couple of years, Google is known as the search engine. Yeah. They have been trying to do social networking and, as you said, maps and navigation. One clear area that they have gone into is maps and navigation, and that is where they will see revenues coming in. So free. If you have GPS apps today which are available, you can download something on the iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, and what you get to see is satellite navigation apps which are entirely free, but they are basically making revenues through advertising. So there will be other avenues, I think, which they'll need to open up. They've started Google Docs. If you go onto Google and if you look at all the products, I think there are in excess of about 50 plus services from Google. So you have email, docs, and images, YouTube, for example, which is their service, social networking, navigation, maps. I think they're trying to get into a domain wherein, because everybody's on the internet, the entire information is on the internet, they will become at some point in time a medium wherein you'll get everything from Google ecosystem. And that is what they've been trying to do. And I think it's a brilliant idea, but at the end of the day, where does your consumer stay? Does it stick on the phone, a 3-inch, 4-inch kind of a real estate, wherein they are within Facebook and you're serving everything, or they go onto a browser, and they've gone into the browser as well. Google Chrome, incidentally, has overtaken Internet Explorer last week as the world's largest browser in terms of market share. So when you look at all that, they're making headways, but quietly. Silently.
So something to look out for, if obviously that's your kind of thing. We're going to move on to our main chunk of what we've got. And we've got 2 of the latest handsets in from HTC. So we've actually got them in the studio to show you and obviously show the differences and have a play around with. Raman, you want to tell us what we've got here?
I think one of the first, these are two newly launched handsets that we've got from courtesy of Vodafone. These are HTC handsets which are available on different networks. And one thing which I have to admit, when I look at HTC and when I look at Samsung handsets, now again this is a comparison and we're obviously looking at doing a review, is that we do get to see that the handsets are very sleek. They have chosen to look at larger screens very clearly, and some of the key things that you evaluate handsets on is basically the real estate that you get, which is the screen, how good is the battery life, how powerful is it, the camera, which is an integral component, and what do you get on the phone in terms of memory. So when you look at all that, I think what I do feel in general is that HTC has really done a very good job in terms of looking at creating some of the handsets. And these ones specifically, when we looked at the Sensation a couple of weeks back, or probably last year when we did a review of that, we did find that obviously some of the handsets had a smaller screen. So they've done a couple of different versions, 2.5 inch, 3 inch, 3.5 inch, 4 inch. But the new ones that they're introducing, the 1 and the X, are fantastic. The interface, the implementation of the Android, the touchscreen is really fantastic. And what you get is what you actually read on their website or on the box or in the manual. And it is seamless when you work on some of these handsets, that you can go from one application to the other, and it's seemingly fast and quite I would say efficient.
Before we get into too many details, before we get well into the hard drive and technology that comes with the phone, we're going to have a short commercial break. So don't go anywhere, because we will be reviewing two of the latest handsets on the market. See you soon. Welcome back to the Gadget Show. We have in the studio with us two of the latest handsets. One is the HTC S and one is the HTC X, both which run on the Android operating system. We're going to have a quick run through of both of the phones to let you know whether they're worth getting or not. So I'm going to hand it over to Raman, who's got all of the details. He's even charged them up, ready to go to give you a live demo of what's going on.
I think most of the smartphones that we cover in this studio for review, we normally look at 4 or 5 features. Obviously how big is the screen size, memory capacity, how sleek and built wise, how good they are. We're looking at the camera and obviously what comes in the phone. So this is the one that I picked up, which is the HTC S1S. It's quite a nice phone, very sleek, very well built, as you can see. And it's got a prominent, obviously, HTC branding at the back. When I switch this on, and I'm obviously setting up this phone, one of the things which I must admit over the years with the Android phones has become really brilliant is the screen. You know, they've got an AMOLED screen, some of these phones. The touch and sensitivity is absolutely brilliant. And some of the things which I want to point out when you're, obviously buying this phone, some of you who pick this up with different carriers, is on different price plans, is that one of the things which catches your attention is that it gives you a Dropbox subscription for 25 gig for 2 years, absolutely free. Going next, it allows you to set up all the applications, the usual things that we use the phone for, productivity, email, entertainment, internet and stuff like that. So you can set up all the accounts. I'll cancel the SkyDrive for now. Go back a bit, next, and then you can transfer your stuff, which I'm going to skip. You can set date, time and date, and all that will be done automatically as per the network. Press finish, and it lands to the opening screen. So it's setting up the phone. Usual display that you get to see on all HTC, the same UI implementation. You get the big date, the weather in the background, and obviously some of the things which are coming through to tell you, because the phone's just been booted up, in terms of a new phone, what you need to do. I'm going to skip that as well. No. And then that's the interface that you get. So familiar interface, and as you can see, you can flick through the screen. It's got a cube kind of a UI implementation, so it flips through. And just going back, these are the main applications that you get to see: phone, mail, your market, and obviously certain of the apps that you want to set, and messages. Now, the first thing that I would point out on this particular phone is, when I look at this phone, the build is very good, handles very good in the hand, and obviously the screen, I'm quite impressed with the screen.
Because that's one of the things that when we were doing the HTC Sensation last year,
yes.
is you thought it let it down, didn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
That's the one thing that was quite let down, but obviously now you feel as though it's a significant improvement.
Significant improvement, definitely, yes. And you can set up all the usual apps on the phone. The battery backup is quite good. The camera is quite good. It's got an 8-megapixel camera. The other thing is the phone is very responsive and it's quite fast because it comes with, I think,
1.5, yeah.
1.5.
That one's got a dual core.
Core.
The S has a quad-core
processor. Yeah. So even the dual core, because it's a brand new phone, it's got nothing on it as of now in terms of memory utilization. So it feels good, handles good, runs all the applications quite fast. We've done an extensive review. Some of the other things that we tested out was the speaker quality. In some of the phones that you get to see, you normally would see that the phone speaker output is not that good because of the design, the sleekness of the phone. But what we did find was when we went on and you tuned into the FM radio, the sound quality is very good. And this particular phone also comes with, not this one, I think. This phone also, this phone normally in the box comes with your USB charger, your headset, your things like that, and the usual package. And I think it's available on different operators, starting with a basic price of about £25 for 600 minutes and things like that. And just quickly looking at tuning into one of my, if I could say that, favorite channels. Let's see. It's got nice little curves, the headphone jack on the top, on and off button here, charger on the left hand side, and then volume controls on the left. And as you can see, I've just tuned into the FM Manchester radio, and the sound output is really good.
It's quite clear. Also, this particular phone, I think it's about a 4.2-inch screen.
Yeah.
Also comes with 16 gig of memory straight on here. So it's something, obviously plenty of pictures. Okay, I can get this off now. Plenty of pictures.
From the side.
Yeah, plenty of pictures on there, videos, a whole host of applications. So that's 16 gig that comes with it. It's got a 4.2-inch screen on that particular one. A 1.5 gig quad-core processor and 1 gigabyte of RAM, which is the reason makes this particular phone so fast and so responsive. And obviously it's got is it an AMOLED screen as well?
Yes.
So That's why it's a big improvement to ones that we've had in the past from this particular manufacturer. And obviously Raman's happy, which is the main thing.
And the other thing which, some of the things that I'm just reading through, when you look at phones, you're looking at ease of use, battery life, you're looking at, the design and performance. And I really like the design of this phone. I think it's quite similar to the Galaxy.